right, sick.
Sorry, I was just getting ready. Okay.
All right. No.
You're ready yet?
Okay.
I'm
Now
ready
I'm
when
ready.
you're ready.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Dorm Room History.
I forget they can see how I'm posted up, so maybe I
Oh.
shouldn't post up like I'm
Sit
doing
in a
this
good position.
thing.
There you go.
Well, 'cause I'm not
Don't
wearing
get your
any
toes in there.
socks.
I don't know if they
Yeah.
can see your toes or not.
Sorry, I'll try to keep my toes out of it. It's a child-friendly podcast.
Okay. Anyway, welcome to Dorm Room History, where our slogan is.
I hope y'all love that. We've been working on that for a couple.
Anyway, we're excited to be here today, presenting some history for you.
I was just wondering what the inspiration behind that was.
I think people will see throughout, and if you don't understand by the end,
Okay.
you might fail the class.
I'm excited to see what it is, so let's get into that.
All right. Well, we're going to start with our Today in History. There was actually two really interesting ones today. So first of all, or this week in history, I guess.
This week in history.
This week in history, New Amsterdam becomes a city, later renamed to
New York.
New York. New York. That's where we got it from, eh?
Yep.
And then another interesting thing today is that the oldest continuous writer of insurance in America opens the Mutual Life Insurance Company of New York.
So what does that mean?
And that was in 1843. That means that we got mutual insurance today. Literally, actually today, the day
Like
we're
Liberty
recording this.
Mutual?
February 1st.
Dang. Liberty
Started.
Mutual started 200 years ago
Yeah.
today. That's crazy.
But yeah, then Amsterdam was established in 1653, New Amsterdam.
Should I close that window?
Yeah, you should go close that
Okay,
one.
hold on. I may have
We'll be right back.
I may have lit like 5 candles on fire earlier today because, well, it sounds like I say that in a bad way. Like lighting candles on fire is not the thing you're supposed to do with them.
But like he really lit them on fire.
So they were burned down like really, really far to the bottom, and I was like, how am I gonna get to that wick? I can't get there because every time I try to light it, I would turn the candle upside down, try to put the lighter in there like that, but then you don't
Doesn't
have
work.
oxygen.
Mm.
It doesn't work like that. So I lit a paper towel on fire and dropped it in.
Sick.
So they were burning like quite big flames, and so Blake came over and opened the window.
Let's go.
So I had to go ahead and close that.
All right. So yeah, with all of the introductions out of the way, I guess we should get straight into it. Michael, do you want to intro our topic for this week?
I would love to. As soon as I turn on Do Not Disturb my computer
Okay.
to receive that text you just sent me. Yeah, so let me tell you a little story about, it goes all the way back to a time when I was probably about like 9 years old.
Okay.
Okay.
3 years ago.
Not that long ago. I was 9 years old. And it's late one Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
And as you do in the Van Tassel household, I'm sitting in front of the TV while it's playing ESPN.
Mm.
I'm watching my. It was springtime. I think it was around like April, and I'm watching some teams play basketball because April, if you don't follow the NBA, April is the beginning of playoff season. And so I'm watching some NBA playoffs, and then a commercial comes on, and the commercial is like zooming out on like a picture of a dude's brain and Mars and all this crazy stuff, and I'm just like, I can't take my eyes off it. And then at the very end of the commercial, it goes, "History may not be anything like what you thought." And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a commercial for a TV show. I'm like, I gotta watch that show. Whatever that show is, I need to see that show. Right?
I wonder what the show could be.
Well, the show premieres tomorrow at today, tomorrow. Like it would premiere the next morning, next Saturday morning. Only problem is that's yard sale day for the Grove in Midlothian, Virginia.
Dude.
So I
Can't miss yard sale day.
I know, and so I had to fight my parents hard on this one. I was like, Mom, Dad, please, please, please let me stay home. I want to watch this show that's coming on tomorrow. And by the way, this is not a thing I do. Like, I never was watching shows when I was 9. Like, this is a unique occurrence. And they're finally like, okay, whatever, you can watch this show. So I watched this show. This show is called Ancient Aliens.
Whoa.
For any of you who know what that show is.
Dude, we talked about the Ancient Aliens manuscript a few episodes back for all the avid dorm heads.
Yeah, for all the listeners. But I go and I watch the show, and it's actually really entertaining. A couple probably like a year or two later, my mom had to like ban me from watching the show because I would get too scared. Because I was like 9 and I was watching a show about aliens. But really, like, it got my imagination going. Like,
right.
That was just a change in my life forever when that show hit. Like, and I mean, for a lot of people, just so you know, it's discredited now. Like, it's not history. Like, don't get that confused. I'm not saying here, like,
Don't
as
get
a
it twisted.
historian, I endorse ancient aliens.
In fact, I believe that there's a paper they have to write about this, right?
There is a paper you're gonna have to write about that, and we'll discuss a little bit about that in this episode specifically.
Okay.
But the point of Ancient Aliens, if you haven't seen it, is there was this book written by a guy named Eric von Daniken, and he's actually on the show. He's one of the people on the show. He's not the guy that does aliens. You know the meme.
Aliens.
But he's the guy who he kind of started the whole movement because he wrote a book.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Chariots of the Gods. You ever heard of this?
No.
So his book Chariots of the Gods, it's largely debunked now, but it's this he would go around the globe and he would go to different areas and look for stories about when it seemed like there were ancient texts that were describing what maybe seemed like spaceships or aliens visiting. And the whole premise of his book was that, when ancient people said the gods or Zeus or whatever, it was actually aliens coming to visit.
Oh.
And they just didn't know how to describe it.
Okay.
And so they would say, these are the aliens coming.
Interesting.
Right?
So it's actually little green homies.
Yeah.
Or something.
Or something like that.
Or if you ever Lego Mission to Mars, if anyone remembers that from back in the day.
I don't remember that.
I don't think anyone will. One of my favorite series of Lego sets, they had these little green homies that looked really scary, and those scared me. So,
well, one of the things specifically, speaking of Mars, that always caught me was this idea that they had all these different like kinds of evidences that they would show, and we'll talk about why those probably aren't true anyway. But the conclusion that the Eric von Daniken and Giorgio Tsoukalos and all the people that did that show came to was that humans had actually come from Mars originally. Whoa. And it was a dying planet, and so the aliens had to take us and put us on Earth and teach us how to do things.
Dang. You learned it here first, where Eden was.
So I don't endorse any of this. Just, I was 9 years old, and I was like, this show is awesome. Like, no way, I didn't know we came from Mars.
Dude, people are like, okay, wow, we're like 5 minutes in, I've learned zero history.
But I guess we'll talk about just the difference between real history and whatever this is, because this is called, if you like it, if you endorse the theories, a lot of times people will call it alternative history. But if you don't like it, they'll call it pseudo-history or pseudo-archaeology.
Okay.
You ever heard of those terms before?
Yeah, pseudo.
Yeah. So pseudo-history or pseudo-archaeology or alternative history, if you like it, it was just a different idea of history. And a lot of people like it. And I don't want to say like... I don't want to make fun of the people who believe it, but I do think those people are wrong.
Come on.
I do think they're not true. But they had some interesting things. Like, I remember there was this. I'd heard stories from my grandparents about this, or maybe not maybe old people on a mission. I don't know.
That sounds about right.
Some kind of old person on a mission. They said, when I was a kid, they put out these little triangle like pyramid crafts, and you had a bunch of sticks and you put together pyramids. And if you put together a pyramid the right way, it was because the pyramid was supposed to be like a technology that came from the gods or came from aliens. And so if you built your pyramid, then you put a fruit under it, it would like never rot. But it didn't work because the fruit always rotted.
Anyway. It's not true.
It's not true.
Your fruit won't rot. This is the amazing invention that aliens have for us. Check this out. If you build this huge pyramid, you can put fruit in it and it won't rot.
Out of all the inventions they could have given us, like they're like,
how'd they get here? They get here on unrotted fruit.
But it was this idea like pyramids were supposedly like some super powerful technology that the ancient aliens had brought to us.
Right.
And this was also a big thing in Mesoamerica, is where they would focus on this, because of all the pyramids they have in Mesoamerica, like Chichen Itza. Like, and if you don't know about them, go look up pyramids in Mesoamerica.
Look up Chichen Itza on Google.
Yeah, look up Chichen Itza, or look up Teotihuacan.
Look up Teotihuacan on Google.
Yeah, the city of the gods is what they call it.
On Alta Vista, maybe.
On Bing.
If anyone knows what that is.
I don't know Alta Vista.
It's a search engine from like the 70s.
No, I don't. Maybe they would still have some of the stuff about the pyramids and the fruit.
That's true.
Though,
they might actually have the truth about the fruit. Look up fruit truth on Google.
Maybe I'm just like...
Thank me later.
Maybe those people just were like telling me something that was not even true. Like, didn't even happen.
I don't know, dude, that sounds
Maybe
good.
they're just making it up.
Listen, Fruit Truthers, it's a small group.
Yeah.
Don't make fun of us.
Regardless of who built it, like, the point is that there are pyramids in Mesoamerica. Are huge pyramids. Like,
big.
Pyramids the size of, like, things that rival the size of huge buildings we built today.
And in the jungle, like in the middle of
And in
nowhere.
the middle of the jungle. Yeah, like, how are they getting all the stone there?
It's true.
Right?
There's no stones in the jungle, just wood.
And it's so the people, I mean, people especially back in like the 60s and 70s and on this Ancient Alien show, they would be like, well, how did the people do this? Well, they for sure couldn't do that by themselves, so someone had to help them.
Right.
Right. Who else is there to help them except the little green people?
That's true.
They come from
That was
outer
my
space.
first thought as well. My apples have been good for about 2 months. And I was thinking...
Since you've been putting it under Mesoamerican
Well,
pyramids?
I didn't want to say my secret. But I was thinking, wow, aliens must be keeping my apples good.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Google that.
And there's lots of like legends in the sorry, I don't want to if you want to keep telling more of the joke.
No. That was the whole joke, is just Google it.
But there are like legends of gods in Mesoamerica. Like the Mayans have the god Quetzalcoatl, and the Incans have the god Viracocha, and these people are supposed to like come down from the heavens and teach the people a bunch of stuff. Kind of like Prometheus. If you heard the story of Prometheus, where he goes and he steals fire and brings it back to the people.
Okay.
It's kind of like Quetzalcoatl's like. And if you're one of those people like Eric Von Daniken or like Giorgio Tsoukalos who love ancient aliens, like you're gonna see this and be like, what are you gonna say?
You're going to say, wow, Quetzalcoatl was probably an alien.
Probably an alien. Right?
But if you're an RM, you may look at it and say, wow, Quetzalcoatl was probably Jesus Christ.
You could look at it like that. I won't endorse that theory, but don't spread it around like it's church doctrine. Please, please, please don't do that. I had a lot of problems with that in my life. But these pyramids, especially in Olmec societies, which is another civilization in Mesoamerica that existed around like 2000 BC and afterwards, the pyramids for them, they called them the gateways to the supernatural. Right? And so you're seeing all this stuff and you're like, for someone who's uneducated in Mesoamerica, you're like,
whoa.
Aliens, man.
Aliens.
It's the only solution.
It's got to be, what's the pod racer dude from episode 1 of Star Wars? Ben
Sebulba?
Hitchino or something.
Oh,
Keep going.
We're thinking of someone different.
We're thinking of a different person.
Who's the dude? Oh, he's not the pod racer guy. Or maybe he is.
No, he
Sebulba?
is.
I thought that was his name.
No, hold on.
We're getting our research staff on it really
Hold on,
quick.
crack research staff. Ben, Star Wars.
Dude, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, like Ben Kenobi?
No, Wars.
Who? I want to swear.
Ben Quadrinos.
Okay, it is. Who is Sebulba?
Ben Quadrinos. This guy, Ben Quadrinos.
Okay, I was thinking of this homie. Hold on.
I know
This guy.
Saboba, but I was talking about Ben Quadrinos.
Okay.
He's the GOAT.
Well, we were just thinking. I thought Sebulba was like the best one, but
Ben Quadrinos would be a 7-time world champion if Saboba hadn't sabotaged his pod racer.
Oh shoot.
Most people don't know that.
Most people don't know that.
But he came down and built the pyramids too.
It may have been someone like him.
It may have been someone exactly.
He also knows how to make your fruit not rot.
There will be multiple pictures of Ben Quadrinos flashing over your screen currently.
But you have these Olmecs, and they're calling their pyramids the gateways to the supernatural. There's also a city north of the Olmecs, established right near the time when the Olmecs are starting to go away, this Mesoamerican civilization. And this city is called Teotihuacan. Okay?
Write that down.
And it's an important city, very, very important city. It's a city-state, so it doesn't have a lot of, it's not an empire or country or anything like that. But it is, it's called by the people who come after it, the City of the Gods. Because the buildings are so massive. It's kind of like that cyclopean architecture we were talking about from last time.
Okay, yeah.
Right? This is a universal concept where the people are like, this is so huge and massive and rivals the biggest pyramids in the world. The gods are the only ones that could have made it.
Right, logically.
Right, logically.
Nowadays we say Ben Quadrinos. Back in the day they said...
aliens. Yeah, back in the day
they said Quetzalcoatl.
They said Quetzalcoatl, right? And so I just want to, for a second, say... Let's just say for argument's sake, okay, just so we can discuss it, aliens did make it.
Okay.
Aliens built Teotihuacan, the city of the gods. Don't clip that. And just use it by itself. Doesn't that turn history on its head?
Yeah.
Doesn't that change everything that you know about history?
Well,
just like that one little X in the equation, just everything's changed.
First of all, it's interesting that aliens came to Earth and the thing they decided to do was just build some cool concrete buildings and leave it at that. But, assuming they did, wow, that does change a lot of things.
Right? And like how much else have aliens been in part of history?
Yeah.
Like what presidents have they talked to?
JFK?
JFK maybe. There's an interesting book that's not true also, but about aliens talking to Roosevelt, that is pseudo history as well. But now the interesting thing about this is you also have to flip it on its head and be like, okay, let's say for sure we know without a doubt aliens had nothing to do with the Teotihuacan. Okay? That also kind of flips history on its head because now you have to be like, wow, how did these people do that?
Right.
How on earth these people build something that huge? Mind you, without the wheel. These people did not have the wheel in Mesoamerica.
Dude.
How are they doing things
And
like
if
that?
they didn't have the wheel, they didn't have the pottery wheel either,
No.
which is a big deal.
And there's stuff like this all around the world. Like, there's something called Damascus steel,
Mm.
which is, I don't know if you can guess what that might be.
Damascus steel is like this layered metal. That,
Oh, you actually know what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were just
Every
gonna be
man
like,
knows what Damascus
I thought you were just
steel
going to be like
is.
steel from Damascus.
No, every man. No. Come on.
But Damascus steel is layered steel, like Blake was saying, but we still can't recreate it today. Like, we don't have the technology to do it.
It's not true. I saw a guy on YouTube do it.
Oh, well, except for him. We can't do it. And also, when I was researching Damascus steel, the article I was looking at was like from 2010. So I guess in the last 14 years, there's a chance we
may
have
have
created Damascus
This
steel
guy on
since
YouTube,
then.
I'm telling you. You got to check him out. He's incredible.
But point of it, let's say Greek fire then.
Yeah.
Okay, let's for the point of this argument, we'll
Greek
say
fire.
Greek fire. Okay?
Okay.
Greek fire is basically fire that the Byzantines used to like went on water. They would like shoot it. Oh, do you know about Greek fire? Okay.
You light the water on fire.
They would light the water on fire like a trail of water over to the other homie's ship, and it would just burn their ship down.
And no one knows how they did it.
No one knows how they did
It's
it.
like a spell. Like literally, the fire would just go across the water onto their ship.
Shout out the Romans.
Shout out the Romans.
Society would be better if we never if they never fell
Yeah, we would still have concrete that heals itself
in Greek fire.
in Greek fire, fire water.
But like, if you're sure that like aliens didn't have an impact, which I'm pretty confident they probably didn't, but I mean I don't want to jump to any conclusions. Alien lovers
Good
out
old
there.
Benji Quadrinos could have been in there.
Like you have to like these people who lived hundreds of years ago, like they did that. How did they do that?
Mm-hmm.
How are they able to create something that incredible?
It's a good question. Do we know?
We don't know,
Hmm.
but I'm gonna walk you through the just the societal timeline of these American people that were able to create this huge city of Teotihuacan.
Okay.
Because it's important to know, like, sometimes we look back at the past, and like I said in a previous episode, we look at these people like maybe they just came out of a cave, like, and just learned how to do fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these people were every bit as clever and as smart as we were, but they didn't have the option of going to a library.
Ah,
You know what I mean?
right.
Like today, if I want to, like before this, Blake was trying to figure out how to like set up the audio for this, and he just looked it up on YouTube,
Yeah.
right?
New setup this week, so let us know what you think.
Yeah, new setup. An
Of the
Asian
audio.
person can't do that.
No.
You know what I mean?
Oh, so you have the knowledge you have, and that anyone around you can talk to,
Mm-hmm.
but knowledge does not compound.
Exactly.
You can't be like Einstein and already have the work of Pythagoras and all these
Mhm.
other people behind you to then create the theory of relativity.
No, you nailed it. That's exactly the point I'm trying to make, right? So I'm not saying these people are just as intelligent as us.
Mhm.
They just don't have the knowledge we have,
Okay.
right? And so when we look back at these societies, maybe we're going to go back about 6,000 years. Actually, we'll go back a little farther than that, but we'll start their civilization about 6,000 years ago. They are every bit as intelligent as us, and you'll see that, and you'll see that's how they're able to create huge structures like Teotihuacan.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to start first of all by like, how did people get to Mesoamerica? How did people get to the Americas at all? This is still disputed by some people, but historians have generally settled on the idea that there was humanity started in Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and they migrated around as we've talked about, and there was an ice age, and the ice age soaked up a bunch of the water because I mean, you know, once it gets cold, ice starts to form. You don't have water anymore. Uncovered a land bridge between Kamchatka, the very eastern part of Russia,
Mhm.
and then Alaska.
Mm.
Right, so that people could walk over that land bridge and go into America.
Sick.
And then once the ice age is over, it melts, and then you're stuck there.
Oh,
Right?
luckily, pretty big place.
You got a lot of territory there.
Got a lot of space for activities.
And no one would bother them over there for a long time.
Yeah.
So
Until
Columbus came
the
blasting
white
his
people
JBL speaker.
came blasting Fetty Wap on their JBL speaker.
But they come over, and this land bridge is called Beringia.
Mm.
Okay, super important to remember that.
Beringia.
The story of history,
Mhm.
Beringia plays a huge part. History would be vastly different without Beringia.
And it's really easy to remember because it's like you said bridge wrong.
yeah,
You can take that Beringia over there, over the river? The Beringia?
the Beringia.
The what?
Other people might know it as like that's where the Bering Strait is today, so it got its name from there.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're a nerd and know all the names of the straits, then yeah, you might like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry, I don't know.
He was mostly roasting me, not anyone who knows about the Bering Strait. But these people come over, and at the time they come over, they're very much hunter gatherers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're not sedentary, and so their entire lives is just focused on getting their next meal. That's all they're doing.
Right.
Right. Around 3,300 BC, we have our first bit of civilization, I guess you could say. We have some pottery from Peru. Okay. And if you notice, Peru is not really anywhere near Beringia.
No.
So there's been a lot of time for these people to migrate down.
Okay.
Probably tens of thousands of years.
So they walked across Beringia and then they stayed walking.
They walked for a long time. Well,
All
and
right.
probably like they would die and then their kid would walk. And
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So it's probably not the same people.
The homies just born, walked, died.
Yeah, pretty much.
Dang. A good life.
But they would hunt this kind of animal, I guess, kinds of animals that don't exist anymore in America.
Mm-hmm.
We call them big game.
Okay.
So like mammoths,
Right.
things like that, right? We don't see those anymore.
Mm,
But
well, you might not.
oh, do you want to expound on
Nope.
that? Okay.
Think about it. Look it up. Google it.
Does it have to do with the aliens?
No.
Okay.
Just Google it.
Okay, I'll Google that later. I really like. It's pretty cool to just look at pictures of mammoths, though. If you're ever bored, like they're pretty sweet.
What?
Okay, now I just look stupid.
Just look at pictures.
Google mammoths. If you're
Dude, that's
listen,
like my friends.
listen, for all my women out there, you may not enjoy it, but for all my men out there, I promise, if you Google mammoths and click on images, you will be there for at least like 3 minutes.
Dang. That's like before I had a phone when I was in high school, I didn't have a phone. I'd borrow my friends' phones to do something.
Look at mammoths.
And then I'd go on their browser and I'd look up Gouda cheese. And then I'd go to the third page and then give it back to them. So next time they open their browsers, on the third page of Google Images of Gouda cheese pictures.
And I wonder what their reaction to that was
They were
like.
probably like, whoa, what?
Whoa, how did I get to the third page of
Third
this?
page. Oh, I did it again. That's probably what they were thinking.
But they would do it. They could hunt this big game by using something called a Clovis point, which is like it's like an arrowhead you put on the end of your spear, but it's rounded and shaped in certain ways, so it's easy to like stab in and then like to take back out and then use again.
Okay.
Right, as opposed to like before you're just throwing your thing in the mammoth and like could be gone forever in there.
So Clovis points were big technology for them.
Mm-hmm.
Big
Yep.
change in the hunting.
So they could pull it right back out.
Right. Okay.
Right? But there's not going to be a ton of big game down in Peru where we find that first pottery. Down in Peru, where you find this pottery, there starts to be societies that are settled.
Okay.
Right. So now you're doing agriculture, which means you're growing your crops. Which means if you can grow your crops and have extra food,
Mm-hmm.
then like we've been talking about, you have excess agriculture. Now you can spend a lot of your day doing other things.
Okay.
Trying to invent other things.
So this is the key. They're no longer walking and then trying to find food all day.
Right.
They've made it to Peru. They've become sedentary,
Mm-hmm.
and now they have extra food.
Yep. And you get this around about 300 years after we find that first pottery, you get the first kinds of textiles, which is like wool
Right.
from like llamas or whatever they got down
Okay.
there.
Their supreme drip.
Yeah, kind of that. And then 300 years later,
Mm-hmm.
we get our first like village that we know about.
Okay.
Okay, this is an important name. It's called Karl Supe.
Karl Supe. Cool name.
Yep.
Could be a good gamer tag if anyone out there is looking for one.
Yeah, or band name.
Or band name.
If you're starting a band, just please listen to the podcast if that's the only payback we need.
Karl Supe.
But just so you know, like this is most commonly misunderstood thing, probably in all of world history up to 1500, is that Peru is not in Mesoamerica.
Oh.
So please don't think that if I'm saying Mesoamerica,
Mhm.
please don't include Peru.
No, Peru,
In
if you
that.
look on a map, here's Mesoamerica, you go, woo, down.
Yep.
In South America.
Mesoamerica goes from Mexico
Mm-hmm.
down to Panama.
Yes, because what
Okay.
does meso mean? Middle.
Middle.
Middle America.
So like Peru would be in South America.
Yes, because it's on the south side.
So-
And you may think, wow, they are beating this horse to a pulp. Let me tell you, the amount of people.
The amount of people that have missed questions about that in quizzes, exams, anything
Crazy.
is like
Michael has
a
told me
lot.
stories of him literally telling someone Peru's in South America, and then him talking about Mesoamerica, and then immediately being like, oh, Peru. So remember, Peru is not in Mesoamerica. It's in
Please
South
don't
America.
get that confused. So Karl Supe is going to exist for around 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you're following the timeline, I haven't been super good at that, but we're around like 2800 to 1800 BC,
Okay.
before the years of our Lord. And they are using something to communicate, which is a really cool innovation. Like I said, these ancestors of ours are just every bit as intelligent as we are.
Right.
So they're finding ways to communicate. And the way that they're going to communicate is called a kipu.
Mm.
Okay? A kipu is like, think of an abacus. You know what an abacus is?
Yeah, little stick thing with beads on it.
Yeah. Think of an abacus, except instead of like you're shunting the beads back and forth,
Mhm.
it's just like strings. and you're tying knots at different places. And so, like, if I tie a knot here, here, and here, that means, like, I hope BYU beats UCF later this afternoon.
Right.
Right.
Which, let me check.
No, don't, dude. I have it paused. Don't check.
I won't tell you what the score is right now.
Okay. Now you know when we're recording this. But they're using the Kipu to communicate. And then even later, we're just going to stick in Peru. Hopefully this helps everything make sense for you. We're just going to run through the cities in Peru. Maybe like 1,000 to 2,000 years later, you get another city. It's called Chavin. The long name, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I've never heard anyone call it this.
You just need to know Chavin.
Chavin de Huantar.
Yeah.
Never heard anyone say that. But
so if you're an overachiever and you get over 96 in any of your classes, which is just too much because you get an A above a 96.
Yeah.
So why are you getting a 99, dude?
Why are you getting above 96?
Anyway.
If you get above 96,
but if you're an overachiever and you want to remember the whole name of Chavin, go ahead.
Go do probably it.
Probably don't.
Man.
But look it up. Google it.
I mean, they're much, much, much more established. So Chavin is existing, like, I mean, if you go over to Europe at this time, like, they exist during the time of Alexander the Great. They exist during the time of the Punic Wars of Rome.
Okay.
Like, I mean, this is pretty far on in history. We just skipped over a lot of time.
Okay. Because not much happened.
I don't want to say not much happened.
Okay.
The difference between this is the Peruvians never formed a writing system ever.
Oh.
And so we just don't know a lot of
So a lot
history.
could have happened, but we have no idea.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay. And so this is why, like, as you get further and further on in history, I like it more because then you can tell specific stories.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not a lot of stories I can tell from Peru because no one was writing.
Okay.
Or you communicate by the Kipu, but once you're done with your message, then you do a new message on it.
I like to think that societies that never formed writing actually invented podcasts. And they just had podcasts. And it's like modern day America where everyone freaking has a podcast. And they just talk about what happened.
Let me tell you some characteristics of the cities in Peru. Chavin, Carl Supe. They're trading with each other because they're not a cohesive empire. They're a bunch of city-states.
Okay.
Like we talked about before. I mean, Chavin is at this point really a village. I don't know if I'd even call them a city-state. Maybe you could, but they're trading with other city-states around. They're farming maize, which is corn, something indigenous to the Americas. If you didn't know, corn doesn't exist in Eurasia until Columbus does his thing.
Yep. Does his thing.
Some
of you may know as.
He's a controversial figure. We could dive into that on a future episode, but I don't want to touch that.
Not today.
You know,
but you can remember corn. It's corn maize. There's a corn maize.
Corn maize.
Maize.
They're also doing potatoes. Same deal with that. Native to America. They've got llamas down there as well.
Yeah. Actually, funny story. My mom, when she was growing up, there's 11 kids in her family.
Oh, shit.
And then they would also sometimes have like these boarding kids come, like foster kids, where they're coming to just like go to school in America or whatever.
Yeah.
And then this one kid off of a Native American reservation come and live with them. And my grandpa is a fun guy, and he likes talking to people. And he was talking to the kid, and he's like asking him, how do you say this in, I think he's Navajo. How do you say this in Navajo? How do you say this in Navajo? And he's like, how do you say potato in Navajo? And the kid looks at me and goes, potato. Because they invented it.
It's true. I mean, I've never invented a vegetable before.
Yeah. Well, they invented the word for it. They named it.
No, that's cool.
Like Adam.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going.
There's in terms of religion, we already talked about their main god Viracocha, and he's going to exist in Peru for a long time. But they also build little temples or obelisks, things like that, just like every other society would. Their temple, a famous temple specifically, is called the Lanzon, and this is famous because they build it like under a mountain.
Yeah, and it's kind of a little like maze, right?
Yeah, it's like a little maze, and this is going to exist throughout most of the Americas, basically anything, actually all over America. They love doing animal people art. It's like they mix animals and people together. So you have like, you know how you have werewolves?
Yeah.
Well, these homies do were-jaguars.
Everything.
They do everything, yeah.
Were they furries? Who knows?
We don't know.
Look it up on Google.
See what Google has to say.
Because
they're always right.
Ask the Google AI.
Pseudo history. They in their ceremonies they do for all these sorts of different polytheistic gods they have. They do bloodletting because like that's where your power comes from, and so if you like give your part of your blood to the god, you're giving your power to the god.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
It's like how we fast, kind of, but way
but
less
like super
weird.
different though.
Yeah.
But kind of like that.
Similar.
They also usually their gods would be like those were-jaguars, kind of that kind of deal. Right. So If you look at if you see a statue of a were-jaguar, it's probably representing a god.
Yeah.
Okay. And this runs us up out to like 200 BC. So that's where we're gonna just like stop on our timeline. But just so it makes sense, I'm gonna cover all the entire timelines of the different areas because they're all very independent of each other.
Okay. So
There's
that was
not a lot of
Peru's
interaction.
timeline.
That was just Peru.
Okay.
Does that make sense? We're going to go back to someone we talked about before. Hopefully this doesn't confuse your timeline too much. But I mentioned the Olmecs a little bit
Mm-hmm.
when we were talking about, they're the ones that built the temples that were gateways to the supernatural. And
Right.
they were the ones that had the pyramids, and everyone's like, the aliens are helping them out. Now for a second, now that we are sure, if in theory you could be 100% sure the aliens had nothing to do with it, all the things the Olmecs do are very, very impressive. So the Olmecs arrive on the scene anywhere between 2,000 and 1,500 years BC.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to have two major centers. This is not an empire, though. None of these places we're talking about today at all are empires or countries or kingdoms or anything like that. They're all just like villages. Maybe the very advanced ones you can call cities.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we can get to the point of city-state yet. Maybe with Teotihuacan you could. But the two major, I guess, cities of the Olmecs are called San Lorenzo
Mm-hmm.
and La Venta.
Okay.
Okay. They're building lots of those pyramids, and the Olmecs are really cool to everyone who's around the Mesoamerican area. They're like, everyone wants to be descended from the Olmecs.
They're chill like that.
I had a joke I was going to say and I forgot it now.
That's okay.
But another thing that's interesting is we don't know what the Olmecs actually called themselves.
Oh.
So this is just the name we're making for them. This is what I think it's what the Mayans called them.
Okay.
The Mayans called them the rubber people.
Mm-hmm.
And the word for rubber people is Olmec.
There you go. So think Michelin Man.
Yeah, yeah. They also chewed a lot of gum. That's why one of the reasons they're called rubber people. Oh, it was actually just tree sap.
Oh.
So a tree sap, rubbery kind of thing, but it was gum. So that was interesting. They also found a lot of rubber balls around Olmec cities. Yeah. And they would use these rubber balls, actually. Do you know what they used them for?
They played a little game that you may now know as Rocket League, but that they called handball.
Yeah, we actually don't know exactly how to play it, but there is like some kind of hoop and there's a ball and you got to hit it in, and you probably can only use your hips, which is interesting.
Or we could be wrong, and they could have just had LeBron back then.
They could have. Maybe he was one of their gods. But as the Olmecs are starting to die off, probably they set some people up north and they found a city called Teotihuacan. Okay. And that's just a city-state. That's probably the first place you can call a city-state. And that's around 400 BC when Teotihuacan is established. And just like the Olmecs, everybody wants to be from Teotihuacan.
Okay. Well, Teotihuacan is different from the Olmecs.
Yeah, So the Olmecs fall apart around 400 BC.
Okay.
And then we also see Teotihuacan established around 400 BC. And it's also similar culture to the Olmecs. So we're like, probably something happened there.
You know what I mean? Could be them still, maybe, right? Could be them, maybe. Kind of an Indo-European situation if you guys are regular listeners. If you're following, any of our tens of fans will understand.
Yeah. And in Teotihuacan, you should think, if you're thinking of that place, think independent city-state, huge, huge, huge buildings. It's called the City of the Gods.
Right.
And you think military. They're very, very violent.
Okay.
We found lots and lots of weapons around Teotihuacan.
Gotcha. So they're going to protect their big fort.
And that's Mesoamerica. Yeah, that's all we're going to hit on Mesoamerica.
Yep.
And remember, notice how it's not Peru. Different from Peru. It's Mesoamerica. And does Teotihuacan of Mesoamerica? Yes. Teotihuacan is actually established in modern-day Mexico.
Okay.
Whereas the Olmecs are more like in Guatemala
Okay.
area.
Guatemala. Is that racist?
I don't think so.
Okay. My bad.
I don't know if that's how they say it.
Okay, well,
Is that how they say it?
I don't know. Okay. I might have just made it racist. Listen, we're not responsible for anything said on this podcast. We simply cannot be held accountable.
Well, they already were good at. I bet people, if this was popular, if we had more than 10 fans, people would probably clip me being like, when I said for the sake of arguments, let's say aliens did, and they'll just clip the word that says aliens did.
That's true. They would clip that. Douche dogs.
American politics.
There you go. Anyway,
Problem of society. So now we're just gonna go hit a bunch of like little smaller cultures that just do exist, but they don't have as big of a impact because I'll give you a little sneak peek. Mesoamerican society, especially where the Olmecs are, is going to evolve and new empires are going to come on the scene. And that's where we're going to get the Mayans.
Okay.
And the Mayans are very, very impactful in history. Teotihuacan, that area is going to evolve, and eventually that's where you're going to get the Aztecs.
Okay.
And that's very impactful. And the Peru is eventually going to evolve to where you get the Incas.
Okay.
And that's very impactful. And so that's why we are here.
Incas, Aztecs, Mayans.
Right. And that's not in the time period we're discussing now.
Right, but that's what these.
That's what they were bought on to tough. And so that's why we're hitting those areas so heavily, because I want to show you like where these people come from that are going to create such amazing things like Cusco and Chichen Itza,
Right.
and Tenochtitlan, which is Mexico City today. Right. So they're going to create a lot of just like crazy awesome stuff. And this is where they come from. And you can see that these aren't just like cavemen, like we were talking about before. These aren't just people who just learned how to do fire. Like they're doing some pretty amazing stuff.
Right.
Right. Here's some cultures I don't want to say are less important, but less impactful in world history. Around 2000 BC. So this is very, very early on. You get a culture called the Inuits.
Okay.
And they live in the northern part of North America, kind of where Canada is today,
Okay.
on the west coast, near the island.
Anyone knows where the island is?
It's where Blake Strong is from, an island over there on the west coast. Hey, I can.
Oh,
So the island. The island. He's from the island.
and if you know the island, you know. But if not, it's okay.
Okay. Then they also have hunted whales, which I remember what I read that like what the crap they do that. Like I still don't think today I could hunt a whale. Like and
We do it today. I know people do it. Yeah. I went to Japan once and I ate whale.
you get
It's pretty good.
what does it taste like?
I mean, I hate to be that guy. Chicken, kind of.
I've never tasted like a marine mammal before.
It's pretty good though. It's like kind of. It's kind of fatty, which is nice. I think it's very soft.
Okay. Yeah, they enjoyed that. I don't know how they did it, but they did hunt.
Hey, it's a lot of.
How do you think they hunted whales?
for one fell swoop? I would imagine the Inuits aren't they kind of relative to the Eskimo?
Eskimo Inuit's like the politically correct name of Eskimo.
Okay, yeah. Well, then I would imagine they went out on some kind of canoe or kayak, and then I don't know where you find these mofo's, but they're breaching somewhere. And then I would guess you got a spear or something. You got established.
Get it back. Just like you just get it and then you just falls down to the bottom of the ocean.
No, they have gas in them that makes them float. That's why dead whales wash up on the shore.
They both float. So like in it's just like I see a dead whale floating in.
Yeah, well, just like a human, they have those gases that build up when they decompose, right? Just like a few hours. When you die, you have all these gases in you, and so the whales float. That's why you get dead whales washing up on the. That's why you get dead whale carcasses and stuff. So I don't know how they did it, but that's just my theory.
I mean, like I don't know. Maybe I just like have seen so many shows where like I don't know. I feel like in like in the bag or something like that, when the shark eats the other shark, they get eggs to the bottom.
Also, you're not out there hunting blue whales. Like a whale you'd find in the Northwest, right? Whether it be like a humpback or maybe an orca, isn't actually that big. Like, assuming you don't find the biggest one out there.
I just think about like a school bus.
About that, yeah, but it's like, I don't know.
This is why.
So you're people who are uneducated on whale hunting discuss whale hunting.
If I was in Mesoamerica, I don't want to. Or if I was in America, I want to hang out in Mesoamerica, not with the Indians personally.
Really? I think it'd be sick to go to cold.
And I don't know how they're doing that.
I want to find out.
I think that's life threatening to hunt that whale.
All right. Anyways.
You also have another culture called the Hopewell Indians. They are going to exist from about 200 BC to about 500 AD. They're the precursors to the Mississippi Indians, which you may know from the state of Mississippi.
You might.
They build a lot of mounds of dirt, and we just don't really know what they're for. There's a lot of theories out there, like tombs or fortifications or religious structures. We just don't know.
But they're big on mounds, remember?
Big on mounds. Yep. You also have this culture called the Marajo culture, which is actually really cool. They live at the mouth of the Amazon River in Brazil. They're about 500 BC as well. And they build houses on stilts. I kind of like imagine, because they're like in a jungle and their houses are on stilts. I kind of imagine like witches' huts from Minecraft.
Whoa.
That's what I imagine it'd be like.
It'd be similar to that.
And then there's this other culture. I don't know how to pronounce it, so sorry for anyone who
Is from here.
Yeah, the only thing I heard a quote that's like, all right, one of my favorite people who writes history books, he always gives the only thing you have to be in terms of pronunciation, and it's audiobooks, that's why I can hear sedate. He's like, the only thing you have to be when you're pronouncing names is consistent, which I'm not. So that's kind of how I feel about this situation. But it's the Taino or the Taino, Taino. It goes from about 500 BC to 1500 CE. So up until Columbus comes over. And they're just living in the Caribbean. Do their thing, probably like having a good time. If you live in the
Yeah, dude. Like, what else? Let's have a good time. There's nothing to do but have a good time. You go get fish, which a lot of people like fishing anyways.
Right.
You cook them, which it must be fun to cook a fish over fire. Never done it. It looks fun.
Probably be super. And then I would enjoy doing that.
Go surf or something. I like Cody from Surfs Up.
Yeah. I think, and the only people who have a better life than these people in the Caribbean, the people we're talking about next, people in Oceania. And they're living a good life, let me tell you.
Which, for those who don't know where Oceania is, that's around Australia area.
It's basically all the little islands that go like, and when I say different people have different definitions of where this exactly is, but I'm gonna say all the little islands from Taiwan all the way to Hawaii, or all the way to Easter Islands. Okay, all that stuff's in the Pacific. Basically, all the little like Pacific islands you have. This is actually really, really fascinating to me. I love Polynesian history. I do a lot of work in Polynesian history, so I love this kind of stuff. This is the first time, like, you'll see this again when we get to Rome or Greece. But, like, when I get to talk about something I'm excited about, I'm really stoked because I love all world history, but, man, we get the Mongols, we get Polynesian history, like, that's good stuff. Let's go. That's some good stuff.
Yeah.
So let me educate y'all on some Polynesian history real quick.
Oh, tell me about it.
So the Polynesians, they begin in Taiwan, actually, which this is like, and this is not totally confirmed yet, but this fascinated me when I learned that. The Polynesians begin in Taiwan.
Dang.
Like, it's just like Dwight Howard, even though he ended up, reverts. But yeah, they start in Taiwan and they're going to slowly migrate across like Southeast Asia. So they're in Taiwan. Probably they come across maybe on boats, maybe on the land bridge from mainland China around 3000 BC. And they're going to start settling all of Southeast Asia.
Okay.
So you get like basically everywhere Indonesia is now, Borneo, Malaya, all those areas. And then they're going to, this is kind of where Asian history ends and like Polynesian history starts.
Okay.
Because when I say Polynesian history, I mean Polynesian, Micronesian, and Melanesian. And it's a lot of term dumping here. I'm sorry. I'm just saying a lot of words.
Get through.
But this is important to me because my aunt and uncle are culturally and ethnically Polynesian. And when their wedding happened, my aunt has she is a big, like, a lot of Tongan people in her life, right? Which is the kind of Polynesian people in there. The Tongans at one point enslaved the Samoans.
Oh.
Okay. And my uncle is a Samoan. And so he has a bunch of Samoan family. All right. And so even when you look at that, I mean, Tongans and Samoans are both like part of the Polynesian family. And everyone's like, oh yeah, just those people in Polynesia. But that was like a big problem because still at their wedding, which was like 15 years ago, they both had to be like, okay, like chill out, like don't like fight each other.
Oh, okay.
Like, so it's a big cultural difference, even though you say Samoan, you say Tonga.
Right.
You think of the same thing, right? That's just why I'm making an extra point that these people are all like very, very different people.
Okay.
Right. But the first places to get settled are Melanesia. That's where like Papua New Guinea is, and the Solomon Islands. And an interesting thing about them is if you go look up a picture of people from Melanesia, they're called Melanesia because they look black. Like it looks like they'd be from Africa.
Right.
They have a lot of melanin in their skin.
Okay.
Right. And then Micronesia gets settled, which is some places like the Marshall Islands or the Caroline Islands. And then finally, you're going to get Polynesia start being settled. Polynesia is the one that most people are familiar with. That's where you have Tonga. That's where you have Samoa. That's where you have New Zealand. That's where you have Hawaii. Right, all those places. And then eventually Easter Island.
Oh, okay.
And so that's kind of like the route the settlers took to get all these places. But the real difference in culture when they switch from being an Asian culture like Indonesia, Taiwan, to their own culture of Melanesia, Polynesia, Micronesia, is in a place called New Caledonia. Okay. New Caledonia is a little island, kind of northeast of Australia.
Okay.
And the people there are called the Lapita people. The Lapita culture.
Okay. So New Caledonia, that's the Lapitas.
That's where they begin.
My Lapitas.
I don't even know what that's supposed to be. We just did talk real life. Yeah, sorry to spice it up a little bit. No, I just did saying a lot of history in a row. I'm sorry. The Lapita people, they're doing all sorts of pottery. They're doing just like the same trends that you're gonna find in every other civilization. One of the reasons that Blake told me recently that Polynesian people get so big is because they're eating the taro root. You the one that told me that?
I may have been. I don't know. I don't remember how. Okay, if I say.
Anyway, this is an interesting fact. Blake told me, and I was like, "Is that true?" I looked it up. Totally true.
Google it.
Basically, there's so much. You know how like generally Asian people are smaller than average, and Polynesian people generally are bigger than average. So they're both coming from Taiwan. Like, how did that happen?
Right.
Couple reasons. One, they're traveling long distances overseas, right? So if you have a bigger body, it's easier to like thermoregulate, and it's also easier to like you have the fat buildups. You don't get like hungry as easy and stuff.
Okay. Burly sailors.
Yeah. But also they're eating this thing called the taro root, which is like their kind of sugar. It's actually delicious. Like my favorite thing was like you get taro boba, you get taro ice cream. So good, man. But also it's just like loaded with testosterone. Oh, sick.
Oh yeah, I remember telling you that.
So that's I mean that's one of the reasons why I get so big.
They were just loaded up on testosterone. Could be it.
All right, but that's all the information just laid out there that we're going to cover this week, or just about the very, very, very ancient Americas.
There you go.
And we'll do a quick review. So we got some. Let's first talk about some differences between these societies and Eurasian societies. What differences have you noticed?
Well, I mean, I don't want to cheat. Use other answers I already know, but
Yeah, say even if you know something, I'll be
true. Well, so first of all, they was growing maize.
Yes.
But more popular in like Eastern countries, especially like China. We're talking about. They're big on rice out there,
Absolutely.
and these guys are not big on rice. Yeah, we got corn though.
Big on lower corn.
Another thing is these guys seem to walk a lot. That we haven't heard mention of horses, which we hear about in the Eurasian steppe.
Right.
They're talking about those guys. They have horses or at least deal. So no horses or anything like that out there. No pottery wheel.
No pottery.
Once again,
Like I said, wheel, but also like no
wheel.
But like pottery wheel too.
But pottery wheel too. Like I said, just remember pottery wheel. It'll come in handy. So no wheel, which means no pottery. Which means no pottery. Means no wheel.
Right.
So yeah, no wheels is a big thing. And then there's no like we talked about the Chinese empires. No empires here. We got a bunch of little cities and villages. They're all kind of unique of each other, trade with each other. Maybe they have peace, maybe they don't. At biggest, we got Teotihuacan, but that's it.
Absolutely. Yep. Nailed it. I guess we'd move on to next right?
Yeah, I nailed it.
Let's talk about like the transition from nomadic to sedentary. Where does that first happen as far as we have evidence? Do you remember?
Yeah. So it's going to happen down in Peru, which is...
No, as
And it happens with our boys down in Peru.
as far as we know, yeah. Because I mean, tomorrow we could find like an Inuit village from 5,000 BC. Let's strike out there.
It's the thing about history. You can never just be like, this is the way it is, because we could discover something could change.
Interesting quote from Napoleon. He says, "History is a set of lies we all agree upon."
It's good what? Right, my boy Dappy.
Let that distill upon your soul for a moment.
Google it.
Google it. Let's talk about writing, because this is another difference. They didn't have writing.
Oh, no writing, right? They had the little
Kipu. And again, just like China, please go look at how that's spelled. It's spelled Q-U-I-P-U.
Q-U-I-P-U.
Kipu, right? And in Peru, when they would use these Kipu to communicate, like between the leaders of different villages. But if you know in Peru, it's full of the Andes Mountains, big tall mountains, and tough to run. It's tough to run at altitude.
Shout out and out that.
Yeah.
Frick that guy.
Oh.
Putting those big things there.
Oh yeah.
You got it.
I got it. But dude, I know about being high in the mountains and it being hard to run. I just got smoked in my bro game last night because
It's true.
that's a not condition.
Sucks. Lost basketball. It's okay now. Dude, it's been haunting me all today. Listen, the team's going to get better, man. They got a good GM. I'm the GM.
But they would get these runners that were called Chasqui Scouts, and they would run. They would like sprint along these mountain paths, and they'd be able to cover an incredible amounts of distance. I don't know exactly how long it is, but just like, but they'd run really, really far. Yeah, that's great. So they deliver these key boosts to them later.
Okay. Gotcha.
That's what you. Yeah, it's like sending a letter.
Yeah, we hit that. Let's talk about the first few cities in all of America that we know about. We got Xavi, and we got Karlsruhe. Yep, both improved, just like we hit on. Good band name. But in terms of the first civilization, are we looking at the Olmecs? Not include Olmecs.
And this is all semantics. Like, some historians will disagree with me, but it's tough to characterize like what day something became a civilization versus when it didn't. So, you know what I mean? It's not like they woke up one day like, all right, now it is a civilization. It's just kind of like it. You can kind of characterize it where you want, but I would say generally most historians consider the first civilization to be the Olmecs.
Yeah. Except Rome is easy. Once they built that wall and he killed his brother, immediately became Rome.
Well, they did build it in a day, man.
They did. No, actually, if you're, it's in the story of Rome,
If you're in Asia area, it is. And then just over in the Pacific, we've got the Lapita culture. And that's what they're called, right? The Lapita culture is when
how about New Caledonia?
in New Caledonia, right? It's the island. That's when they officially are going to transform from the Asian culture to the Lapita Pacific culture.
Start pumping testosterone.
Yeah, I get.
So that's when I start cranking hog on that.
I mean, if you go to New Caledonia today, it's very much like Pacific culture. You go to Indonesia today, you go to Borneo today, you go to Taiwan today, a very Asian.
A lot of rice.
Yeah, I think that's all you put me on, man.
Sick. Well, what a good episode, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully this will help you with learning this week. I know it sure helped me. Oh, it didn't help you? Anyway, no. I'm just trying to do my host thing, you know.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Well, with that, I think we'll play out with the outro music. Let's go. The visual learners are going to get right out. All right. Let me pull up the query corner, Kev. Query.